Oh, hi there, Ollie Anderson here. Welcome to this video. I want to make a really quick video about how when you step up and you start growing real and you commit to yourself, your true values, your true intentions, your true sense of morality, and you create a pathway for yourself where you start to accept yourself unconditionally and start moving forward with that acceptance to find some way to express yourself in the world and to change the world so that it's more real on your own terms, or to just share some truth that you've uncovered. When you start doing that, well, the world is going to start testing you. And you need to know that these tests are just tests, and also that they're coming so that when it does happen, it doesn't derail your progress and send you hurtling into all kinds of doubts and insecurities and whatever else it is that can cause you to go back to old patterns and start being unreal. I see this a lot. I've seen it in my own life. Sometimes the people that are closest to you, i.e. because of like geographical proximity, or because you have to spend a lot of time with them, or because they're related to you through blood, or just whatever, people that are close to you in general don't always understand you as the real you. And in fact, they understand you the least because of the history between you, or because they're just used to certain roles and dynamics between you, and they see you as a certain version of yourself or as a certain idea that they have that allows them to stay the same and to maintain the same sense of identity, the same ego story that they want to tell themselves. Because basically all of our egos in the different systems that we find ourselves living in, so family systems, friendship systems, work systems, if you've got a job and you have a bunch of teammates, all these different things are systems, and people's egos, the images and the roles that they carry of themselves within that situation are dependent on everybody else's ego being a certain way. And so if you step up and you start growing, then it's actually just going to shake the foundations of the egos or the ideas that the people in your life, the people close to you, have of themselves. And so if you start growing real, well, there's two things that can happen. Either one, they'll see you growing real and they'll be like, oh, okay, this is working for this guy or this girl, I'm going to try the same thing. And then they'll start working on their stuff. They'll become more creative or whatever it is that they've seen you do. And then, okay, you've got two people that are more real than they were. The second thing that they can do, though, is if they're not ready to grow real, they will resist the changes that you're making, and they'll try and drag you back into the unreal state that you were in before you started making changes. That's when you hear people say things like, oh, you know, you've changed. You've changed. You're not like you used to be. What's going on? Those kind of statements just mean that they don't know how to control you anymore, because the role that you used to be playing is something that you stepped away from, and they would prefer you to be back in it because of this resistance. They don't want you to grow real because it's holding a mirror to their unreality, and it's basically showing them that if they made similar steps forward, or if they started working to look at their own stuff or to create a vision for where they're going and etc., if they started doing that stuff, then they'd get results too. But most people, or maybe not most, but a lot of people are not willing to do that because it's hard. It's hard in the sense that you have to face your unresolved emotions. You have to face the shadow stuff. You have to face the fact that your ego is a thing in the first place, and then you have to start deconstructing it and ask yourself, why do you have self-limiting beliefs? Why do you have certain illusions, etc., etc.? Nobody really wants to do that. And so it's better for them to try and make you stay the same rather than for you to put yourself on a path that's going to cause them to ask questions that makes them think about changing as well. Most people are change resistant because they're in the ego place, and the ego is the opposite of change because it's the illusion of stasis. It's the idea that we stay the same because it's about denying our own death and blah, blah, blah. And that reality is not reality. When we all know, if you've been watching this channel, that reality is about movement, it's about flux, it's about riding with the waves, etc. And so if you've stepped up and you've started riding the reality waves and you become more real, well, you need to be aware of the fact that some people won't like that. And the fact that they don't like it can actually cause you to go back to old patterns and to be in the old version of you if you're not prepared for it, and also if you haven't worked on your shame, guilt, and trauma. If you have shame, then people are going to start saying things to you like, oh, you've changed or whatever it is. And you're going to feel bad about yourself because you're going to feel like there's something inherently wrong with the way you are, the way you're doing things. And so you'll just basically go back to the old way of being, which is ultimately about having that other person or those other people control you. It's the same with guilt. They might try and make you feel guilty by saying, you know, oh, you think you're better than everyone or whatever it is. And that will also, if you haven't worked on yourself and understood that guilt is just a useless emotion, if it lingers, then you'll basically go back to the old patterns. And again, they will have controlled you. And basically, when you start growing real, you need to understand this, because those people who are doubting you are only doubting you and your growth and your progress in life because they doubt themselves. If people have been real, they don't doubt other people, because when you're real, you have trust and belief in yourself. You feel like life will work out if you do the work. You see that that's true, because as you do the work and you start taking steps forward and making progress, then you get results. And so you know that reality is always the way to go, because the ultimate feedback from reality is those results. And if what you're doing is working, then it's just based in something true. And a lot of these people that are close to you, they're doubting you because they doubt themselves. Basically, if you say that you want to do something creative, for example, you want to write a book, you want to start your own business, you want to do this, that, the other, whatever it may be, people close to you may, not always, like if you're lucky, you're going to have people that support you, but they may tell you that you've been naive or you've been crazy or that you've just been egotistical or whatever it is, because you're trying to do something that goes against the grain. And if you doubt yourself, or you allow yourself to actually listen to that in any capacity, then you're just going to ruin your progress. But actually, those people are saying that, like you keep saying, because at some level, they've given up on themselves. Probably it's just some kind of projection. And if you listen to their life story or whatever, they probably had some dreams that they wanted to go out and achieve earlier on in their lives, and they gave up on them. And now, instead of stepping up and accepting that it's not too late or whatever, they're just going around telling everybody else that they should give up on them too. And basically, they will act as though that's the truth, that you're being naive if you think anything other than that, and that they're just right. But actually, it's bullshit. Giving up on yourself means that your shame, guilt, and trauma has caused you to create a false version of yourself because you've disowned these creative parts of yourself or whatever the dream was about. And you've now just created a story where the world just isn't like that. But actually, if you do the work and you find a way to add value to the world and to give back to other people and to do something that's real and resonates and blah, 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 there's no reason why you can't achieve your creative goals and you can't start your own business and you can't do almost anything you want. That doesn't mean things are always going to work out, but it means you can make a lot of progress probably. And if you start listening to all these haters and these doubters, then you're definitely not going to make any progress. And so what you need to do is just to see that these people that are doubting you doubt themselves. And actually all of this stuff that they're saying to you is about two things. One, it's about putting you into a little box that they want you to be in, because then you're easier to control. And that means they don't have to change. Two, it's about justifying the bullshit stories they're telling themselves and trying to make you believe them too, so that you don't go out there and live a life that goes against that story and shows that it's untrue, and then again makes them feel like they have to change. And three, it's about understanding that these people are testing you. It's a test. When we become more real, the unreal people in the world will start testing that we're actually real and that we're not just faking it, i.e. just putting on illusions or grandeur or, just a big display to make people think that we're something we're not. When you're real, you're unshakable, and people know that. And so they'll start chipping away and throwing doubts at you to see if they can pull you off the path. And if they can, then they've won. And what you need to do is understand that this is just a test. And if you just see it as a test, then you won't basically pay any attention to it. You won't allow them to shake you from yourself. You won't allow the world to tell you what's real when you know that the world is never real. And people who are trying to sell you whatever the world is selling you in general are trying to hold you back from the truth about who you are. And so I just wanted to make a quick video about that, because a lot of the time, especially when it comes to people that are closest to us, we give this bullshit that they throw at us a lot more credence than it actually deserves. Just because people are close to us doesn't mean that they understand life or that they understand the world. Sometimes they do, but if they are like that, if they do genuinely understand, then they won't be making you doubt yourself. They'll be making you support yourself, and they won't be holding themselves back either. They'll be out there too, smashing it, because that's what happens when you're real. You understand the truth, you take action, you make the changes that need making, and you don't hold back for bullshit reasons.